But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation. So we've come to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice. We have also come to this hallowed spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now. This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. It would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment. This sweltering summit of the Negro's legitimate discontent will not pass until there is an invigorating autumn of freedom and equality. 1963 is not an end, but a beginning. Those who hope that the Negro needed to blow off steam and will now be content will have a rude awakening if the nation returns to business as usual. There will be neither rest nor tranquility in America until the Negro is granted his citizenship rights. The whirlwinds of revolt will continue to shake the foundations of our nation until the bright day of justice emerges. But that is something that I must say to my people who stand on the warm threshold which leads into the palace of justice. In the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow our creative protests to degenerate into physical violence. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force. The marvelous new militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to a distrust of all white people. For many of our white brothers, as evidenced by their presence here today, have come to realize that their destiny is tied up with our destiny. And they have come to realize that their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom. We cannot walk alone. And as we walk, we must make the pledge that we shall always march ahead. We cannot turn back. There are those who are asking the devotees of civil rights, when will you be satisfied? We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is the victim of the unspeakable horrors of police brutality. We can never be satisfied as long as our body is heavy with the fatigue of travel, cannot gain lodging in the motels of the highways and the hotels of the cities. We cannot be satisfied as long as the Negro's basic mobility is from a smaller ghetto to a larger one. We can never be satisfied as long as our children are stripped of their selfhood and robbed of their dignity by signs stating for whites only. We cannot be satisfied as long as a Negro in Mississippi cannot vote and a Negro in New York believes he has nothing for which to vote. No, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.
No justice, no peace! No justice, no peace!
George Floyd!
Say his name!
George Floyd!
Say his name!
George Floyd!
Say his name!
George Floyd!
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
Don't shoot! Hands up!
Don't shoot!
Hands up!
Don't shoot!
No peace!
No peace! No peace! No peace!
On May the 25th, 2020, George Floyd, a 46-year-old black man suspected of passing a counterfeit $20 bill, died in Minneapolis, Minnesota, after Derek Chauvin, a white police officer, pressed his knee to Floyd's neck for almost 9 minutes, while Floyd was handcuffed face down in the street. 2 other officers further restrained Floyd, while a 4th prevented onlookers from intervening. During the final 3 minutes, Floyd was motionless and had no pulse, but officers made no attempt to revive him, and Chauvin kept his knee on Floyd's neck, even as arriving emergency medical technicians attempted to treat him. Several bystanders took videos of the incident, which were widely circulated and broadcast, along with security camera footage from nearby businesses. 2 of the officers' body cams were recording, but that footage has not been released. A criminal complaint letter filed against Chauvin stated that Floyd repeatedly said he could not breathe while standing outside a police car, resisted getting in the car, and intentionally fell down. He went to the ground face down, and after Chauvin placed his knee on Floyd's neck, Floyd repeatedly said, "I can't breathe, mama, and please." The protests and riots in America are certainly a very intriguing topic. There's no doubt about George Floyd's death. It was definitely a situation of police brutality, something that is much more likely to happen to an individual of colour than a white person such as myself. Now, the majority of these protests are peaceful. They are peaceful protests. That's the civil way to go about this, the right way to go about this. However, there are a few situations where things have gotten violent, and it has escalated from protests to riots. Now, I'm not picking sides here. The police and civilians have both been in the wrong in different areas here. There's been looting, there's been destruction of property, and there's also been unprovoked attacks on civilians from the police force. This is not how we do things. At least not over here in the UK. I can't say much about American culture when it comes to this sort of stuff because I'm not American. However, I will say, even though I didn't know George Floyd personally, I don't think he would want his death to have sparked violence on either side, whether that's the side of the police or the side of the civilians who are rioting. It needs to stop. There's been vandalism of personal property, destruction of personal property, looting, and it's completely unjustified. It's not the right way to go about things whatsoever. And the majority of these places that have been vandalized and have had things stolen from them, they have almost nothing to do with George Floyd. These are just businesses that people have built up over the years. It's their pride and joy. And now people are coming along and destroying it. It's absolutely baffling to me why you would do this. It's not the way at all. I've also heard tales of police tear gassing and pepper spraying people when these people have posed no threat to the police force. So all I will say now is, if you are an American police officer and you are attacking citizens who are peacefully protesting unprovoked, please retire. You are not fit to protect and serve the American people. I wouldn't want that going on in my country, and it is disgusting that it is going on in the United States. If I was an American citizen, I can't help but think that I would be less likely to be attacked by a member of the police force than a black individual would, just because I am a white person. This isn't the way it should go. It has been years since Dr. King gave his speech, his I Have a Dream speech, and yet still, racism is very prevalent, not just in America, but in the first world overall. It needs to stop. There's only one race that matters, and that is the human race. If we can't see that, then we're nothing but monsters. It's unacceptable. We need to unite as a species, because hatred has never gotten us anywhere. Whereas on the other hand, love always seems to reign supreme. I stand with the Black Lives Matter community. I stand with equality. And if you have any racist tendencies whatsoever, please unsubscribe from my YouTube channel, unfollow me on Twitch, and get the fuck off of my Twitter. If you're no stranger to YouTube, then you know that when you have any level of fame, when you pass away, there is going to be some absolute scumfuck, such as NNA Productions or J-Station, who thankfully, as far as I'm aware, have not done this, that will use your death for views and money. This is an absolutely abhorrent practice, and it needs to end. As soon as I heard of George Floyd's death, as soon as it started to gather a lot of traction, I knew it was only a matter of time until some absolute shitbag would make a 3 AM challenge on George Floyd. Thankfully, I haven't been able to find a channel that has done this which is monetized, but you shouldn't do it whether it is monetized or not. It's incredibly disrespectful. Imagine being a family member of George Floyd and coming across these 3 AM Ouija board challenges on George Floyd. It's disgusting. You just break down crying thinking, oh, so I guess my family member's death doesn't matter to this person. I guess they just see it as a joke. I am all for freedom of speech. I believe you should be able to joke about anything and everything. But I still think this is distasteful. I wouldn't make jokes like this personally. And I personally just don't agree with it. The Ouija board shit is wrong. I'm not going to show any channels that are doing this 3 AM shit. I'm not going to mention their names because frankly, they don't deserve the attention. They don't deserve the views, they don't deserve the likes, all they deserve is the dislikes, but to even dislike their videos, you would have to go over and watch it, which would give them a view. So don't even give these channels any attention. All they are doing is milking a poor man's death for views and likes and subscribers, and it is fucking disgusting. There is a moral way to go about YouTube, and this is not how you do it. That about sums it up for this video. I'm sorry to end on a sour note. George Floyd, rest in peace, man.